So
Okay.
I'm looking to get, 12 to 15 grand. And they thought that was a good price. They were kind of like proud about that price. And my eyes were like, whoa, I think you're wrong here. I think you're in the like $3,000 to $4,000. And they're like, but everything's here. The whole car is here. And I was like, no, it's not. Not everything is here. And there's little bits and pieces that are missing. And they might be somewhere in your garage. You might not know where it is. But I've seen cars in even worse condition where they're literally a bucket of parts. And they're saying, well, everything's there and you got to go on that. You're going to have to go look for parts and hunt for parts later on when you go to put that together. So that's a big issue.
Well, I know.
The other thing is,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The other thing is paint alone, $8,000 to $10,000. You might get a buddy that says, "Oh, I can paint it for $3,000." No way. It's just the paint alone on some of these big cars are going to cost that.
Well, that's a big deal. But, when you look at building these cars, if anybody's never built one, you get down, you finish it all, and you get it looking good and everything else, and you're like, I'm getting close. The last 20% is what takes all the time.
My dad would always say the last 10% is what separates the men from the boys, because that's your final touches. That's everything that everyone sees.
Right.
A lot of building and restoring and fixing a car is on the inside, on the underside, where people don't see. It's easier to cut corners.
Right.
But when you're finishing a car, you can't cut any corners, and you got to do it right. Otherwise, it's not going to look good.
Well, it makes a big difference if you can start it and drive it. And people
we're just talking about looks the last couple minutes. I mean, not even talking about the mechanical aspects of a car, let alone just figure a car that ran when it was parked, and you parked it and it sat for 15 years.
Yep.
You're going to have to do all the preventative maintenance that Mike and I have talked about for the last 3-4 weeks, right then and there, right off the bat. And that's if the car even cranks over, right?
But Jeremy, but you're talking about somebody that comes to you, doesn't know you at all. Okay. You're just some crazy kid with a beard, and some crazy guy with a beard. And you say, well, it ran great when I parked it. Well, he doesn't know that. He doesn't know if the transmission is missing a gear. Okay. I've seen people trade in cars at the dealer that didn't have like fourth gear. And it ran first, second, third. They'd drive it around the corner, and it would fine shift. But then when they tried to take it on the freeway, it didn't have high gear, So does he know if the transmission shifts? Does he know if the differential winds? Does he know if the brake works? Yeah.
And you have two options when if you end up buying this car and you go to restore it. You could just take the guy's word for it and say, okay, I'm going to do all this work on everything else on the car and leave the transmission as is and hope and pray that fourth gear runs, like Mike is saying. Or you can just take it out when you're doing this restoration and rebuild it. And either of those ways, there's negatives and positives. But when you're looking at a car that's sitting there, you have to think about all these things. And when you're selling a car that's been sitting there, you have to think of all these things. And you can't look at the comps and say, well, okay, it's worth half because it needs some work. You don't know exactly how much work because you haven't even gotten into it. A lot of these people are trying to be like, oh, it's a barn find, that type of thing.
Right.
That's not the case for most of these cars that they're labeling as barn finds.
But also, if you're going to come in there and it doesn't run, I'm going to go ahead and factor in, I'm going to have to rebuild the engine. I'm going to factor in, I may have to put a transmission in it. So when I give somebody a price, I'm going to say, okay, this is a vehicle that it's going to be worth $50,000. Okay. And it's not finished. And I've got bags of parts or whatever. And it's mostly there. Okay. Mostly, but needs to be a paint job and needs that. I don't know if the engine runs, or I don't know if the transmission works. It's just been sitting for so long. I'm like, okay, I may have to take the fuel tank out and replace it or have it cleaned and sealed. I may have to replace the carburetor and all that stuff because it's ruined. Worst case scenario, I'm going to have to spend 10 grand on it. So I'm going to give them a price that's going to include me having to do all that. You know what I mean? So they're going to be upset. So instead of being, I'm going to take 25 for it or 20 for it. Well, I'm going to offer you 5 because I may have to I'm going to have to do another 100 hours of work, and then I may have to do even more.
Yeah.
So
and these people aren't rational sometimes at first. Sometimes it's, unfortunately, you as the first person going to look at the car, you're not going to end up buying it because it's going to take 2, 3, 4 people to go to this person and knock them on the head and say, your car isn't worth what you think it's worth.
Right.
Or time. Time is going to say, I need to get this car out, and they're eventually going to lower their price.
Right. They're eventually just going to be mad about it and say, screw it. I got to get rid of it. But in the meantime, somebody has to bring them, pop their bubble and bring them back to earth and say, either get the engine and transmission working so someone can drive it down the street and make sure that works. Now, well, they'll understand the wiring, but the big thing is, will the engine and transmission work? Does the differential work? Okay, can they drive it down the street? Well, does it not overheat? Does the block not cracked? Does the head, when you start it up, does coolant not shoot out the radiator like it has a blown head gasket? Who knows? You know what I mean? It may have, who knows what it has. So the point is, we've got to prove it to somebody that it's okay. So if I get in there and it's running and it started up, it runs, it starts, you can drive it down the street, here you go. Or I can put it up on the lift and drive it, shift it through the gears. Here you go. The brakes don't work, but being able to idle it, yes.
Sometimes I'm telling people, it's worth it to put a couple grand into this car to get it running, to get it stopping, that sort of thing. If it is in that case, like you said, ran when it was parked. A lot of times that's not the case. The reason it was parked is because something broke, and then it just ends up sitting there. And now it's up to somebody else to try and diagnose something that they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, most of the time those barn finds, it sounds wonderful and it looks wonderful, but most of those things are usually going to be a complete restoration. They're not going to.
Rust and time are not our friends, and both those things really take hold of these classic cars when they're parked.
Right, and it's not everybody takes and pulls the spark plugs out and squirts oil in the cylinders and takes and drains the fuel and does all those wonderful things. For the most part, you go look at some of these cars and they took the spark plugs out and they just stuffed some paper towels in the holes or something like that. That's good for dust, dirt, and debris, but that does nothing for water and corrosion. Yeah, I know it. It's just, but if you're going to let these things sit and you're going to store them, do it correctly. Jack them up, put them on storage thing, put them on a sheet of. If you're putting them outside in maybe just a covered storage, but it's on dirt. Put them on a sheet of a tarp and things like that. Try to seal them, get them up off the ground, cover it all up. Plug up the exhaust so nothing, moisture gets up in there, no varmints get in the vehicle. There's just so many things you can do to make them live a little bit longer. But, the main thing is, if you're not going to keep it and use it, sell it to somebody that will. I mean, you may not get your money out of it. That's okay, but it's not going to be ruined. So that's the best thing,
A lot of times people they end up with the car, someone passes and the car was left to them, and that's how they end up having to sell this thing. And to me, it's sometimes more of a burden than
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
If you want to stay on top of your health, one simple thing to do
is take the pledge to go and get screened for the cancers that might affect you.
So stand up to cancer and take the pledge at
GetScreenNow.org. It only takes a minute to take care of yourself, and nothing rhymes with org.
Talk to your doctor about your health and screenings that are right for you.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
I'm Mike Herzing. He's Jeremy Birnbaum.
Science proves quality sleep is vital to your mental, emotional, and physical health. The Sleep Number 360 smart bed senses your movements and automatically adjusts to help keep you both effortlessly comfortable. And it's temperature balancing, so you stay cool. So you're at your best for yourself and those you care about most. Life-changing sleep, only from Sleep Number. It's our ultimate Sleep Number event. Save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed, plus free home delivery when you add an adjustable base. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Milk, eggs, $42. Ma'am, you okay?
Need bucks? With Jackson Hewitt, don't wait weeks for the IRS to send your tax refund. Come in now for up to $3,500 with a no-interest, no-fee refund advance loan when you file your taxes. That's up to $3,500 today. Don't let high prices get you down. When every dollar matters, it matters who does your taxes. So get to Jackson Hewitt today. For eligible clients, loaned by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
If you're missing the cash-in with Jason Page, then you're missing this.
Dana White has this inexplicable hold on the sports universe that he can do whatever he wants. Maybe I just live in a world where, you know what? If you're high enough in power and you get caught on tape smacking your wife around, it's okay. They would show, Ray Rice dragging his then fiance or girlfriend into an elevator by her hair. They'll show that, but they're not going to show Dana White slapping his wife around. Yeah, you know what? We're ESPN. You can still air your fights on our ESPN Plus platform because God knows we need people to watch it and pay the subscription fees. We can't dare take UFC off it. We can't dare put UFC in a corner and say, you know what? If Dana White is still the face of your organization, we're not going to be in bed with you anymore. You can't do it if you're ESPN because you got no stones.
The Cash-In, weeknights at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on Sports Map Radio.
Are you looking for your next favorite content to binge? Look no further. Search for your team at www.believe.com, where you can find sports analysis from former pro athletes, scripted comedy shows, binge-worthy pop culture, health, and much more. That's BLEAV, the #1 content network for professionals. Do you believe?
Just Saying It with Cole Thompson.
For the first time since the 1947, Chicago Bears will be picking #1 overall. Why is this important? Because the Bears understood the assignment. 2 teams were vying for that #1 pick. One gets a win in the Houston Texans. They move now to #2. And the Bears who lost will be now controlling the draft board. This is so big for Chicago. And let me explain why. Because Chicago has its most important position figured out. Now that you don't have to select a quarterback, you can be greedy. There's so many teams inside that top 10 who need to find themselves a franchise caliber quarterback. To be able to now control the draft board, ask for immense value wherever you may find it, whether that be with the #5 pick, whether that be with the #7 pick, whatever you want to call it, you put yourself in a situation to where you can truly restart your franchise in a positive note.
Just Saying It, weekdays from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Imagine learning about radio and being mentored by true radio professionals in real radio stations. Well, actually, you don't have to imagine because there's Radio Connection. Radio Connection gives you the opportunity to learn one-on-one and be mentored by radio pros. Plus, you don't have to worry about getting into a crazy amount of debt with school tuition either. Radio Connection keeps their tuition at much lower costs. To find out more info, visit radioconnection.com.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Sandrock Concrete specializes in all types of concrete, driveways, sidewalks, basements, and garages. We also do stamp-colored concrete in many different designs. We do interior and exterior stonework, regular brick and block work. Sandrock Concrete is fully insured. Call Jerry Sandrock at 330-506-0013 for an estimate. Also find them on Facebook at Sandrock Concrete LLC. Sandrock Concrete, where you deal with the owner all the time.
The Youngstown Phantoms and Cedar Rapids Rough Riders are taking it outside. Thursday, February 23rd at 6:05, it's the USHL Cleveland Classic presented by Winmark from First Energy Stadium in Cleveland. It's the first outdoor game in Phantoms history, and we need you to be there. Tickets are just $25. Call the Phantoms box office at 330-747-PUCK for tickets or more information. That's 330-747-7825 or visit youngstownphantoms.com.
It's time to kick back and listen to the Sports Page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning Sports Page. Pat Lucia, 330-707-4202 with Dave Clark. Dave Clark. Where do we start today? Finally, the Super Bowl. Yep. Kansas City, Philadelphia, we'll get to it. But obviously, the NBA had a different idea this week. They blew up the Super Bowl, sort of to speak. They took over. The NBA became front and center.
It did.
I got to give him credit. We needed that. I'm tired of the Kansas City Philadelphia matchup already. I was tired of it after day one. Actually, I don't have any. To be honest with you, I have in this game. I have absolutely no really interest in who wins and who loses. Had this conversation last night. My wife goes, "Who do you think is going to win, or who do you want to win?" And I said, "Well, I think Philadelphia is going to win it." She goes, "You didn't answer the question." I said, "Yeah." I said, I don't know. I said, "I guess if I'm going to pull for somebody, I kind of would like to see Kansas City win." But I said, I could go either way at this point. For some reason, I just get no vibe out of the game. And I'll watch it and put up with the commercials and probably ignore the halftime for the most part. But the game itself, it's a coin flip game, obviously, with the point spread either way. I believe it was 1.5 point. Philadelphia was actually underdog here, I've got it's somebody's a 1.5. It was kind of floating. I think Philadelphia might be the favorite by 1.5 points. That's how much I really am into this game. We'll talk more about it though. Second hour. I do kind of want to get to a few other things. I have a question for you, Dave Clark. Why does Roger Goodell lie to us? Is he just turned into George Costanza on Seinfeld? I mean, okay, Roger, please. When asked about the officials this week, Roger goes, "For us, when you look at officiating, I don't think it's ever been better in the league." I mean, Roger, where have you been? Have you watched any of these games? I mean, at least say they do a pretty good job. We have challenges out there. We're working on the challenges. We have improvement like anything else in the world. You can always improve on what you do, no matter what you do, whether or not you work at a job, in a factory, whatever. I'm sure there's an area of an improvement you can do. We get all that. Can you at least come out and tell us that yeah, they're doing overall, I think they're doing an overall good job. However, there are some challenges out there. We can improve on a lot. We're looking into areas where we can maybe improve. How about making them full-time officials to start? Taking them out of, I know the problem with that is they would have to basically buy out their jobs because all the officials pretty much have other jobs, and some of these officials have very good jobs.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So if you're going to make them full-time, which I think they need to, because I think what I saw with officials is inconsistency with, like, especially pass interference and holding, game in and game out. They're just totally inconsistent.
Yeah. Well, they had a great show. One of the best. And guess what? It wasn't about football playing. It was officiating on NFL Network. And they said, when you look at overall, and I have to agree, officiating has not been good for years.
Exactly.
I mean, we're not talking about in the 2000s. We're talking about 1990s. You can go all through there. They always been bad. The thing that's the problem, they said, is now that you have replay, you don't get the things right during replay. The guys on the field do an excellent job for how fast the game is.
Right.
They do an excellent job as far as that. And that's what I would have explained if I was Roger. I can't say, like, you get upset with him, I think, sometimes because it is Roger Goodell. When you think about when you think about Roger over time, he always gets he's going to get that rap because he's always saying all kind of things. But I understand him not tearing down the refs in a way. So he's not going to say things because there has been in the media, they've been ripping him. So I see him trying to say some things, but that's the problem. The replay, get the stuff right. They showed that situation with the Devontae Smith. Now, what was a great thing that I didn't even realize, when they showed it over and over. They showed Devontae. That's something that all teams try to practice. If they are not sure, they give a signal to hurry up.
Right.
But when they showed it how long it took Philly to get to the line and get started, it was 30-something seconds, 38 seconds. More than enough time for, and this is the problem, 6 players from the San Francisco 49ers, Fred Warner, 3 of the defensive backs, the other linebacker, 57, I can't think of his name. I like him too. And one of the linemen, I think it was Boza, all signaled to the sideline, challenge it. And they were over there, Shanahan and everybody looking what to do, waiting for upstairs. The players are on the field. Watch what the players are telling you. Challenge it, and they didn't. And the play went on. If that would have been challenged, they would have been able to see every angle of everything, but they didn't do that. They didn't listen. A lot of times we look at it and say, hey, the refs messed up. They did mess up, but they couldn't see it. When they started showing where the refs were at, they couldn't see it. They were out of position. Yeah, you couldn't see it. That angle was so blocked off. That's why even the camera angles you couldn't until replay was able to show all of it. So that's not a referee's fault. Sometimes it's the thing they show us the management of the team.
Right.
Listen to your players that's on the field when you judge, because this is all San Francisco had to do. It was in the first quarter. You haven't used no timeout.
That's it.
All you had to do is your players going crazy, timeout.
Timeout.
And then now you're in good shape.
Timeout.
And that's when I didn't think of none of that. Right. And what's the running back? Can't think of his name. You would know him too. He played for Seattle. He was a fullback. And he played for San Fran too. He's always on the NFL Network. I can't think of his name. He was a starting fullback. He was good too. But anyway, he was
Alexander. No,
but he played with Sean. I think he played when Sean was towards the end of his career, and then he definitely played with Marshawn Lynch. Okay. He was with Lynch all the way through, But this guy, he said, look at that. He said that was the problem. When you see you got several, if you got one player, he said I can see that. He said, look at this on the field. You can see him going crazy. Boza going nuts.
Right.
Boza's like this going. I mean, he might as well did cartwheels. He was going nuts. Why wouldn't you just call time? He says there's no timeouts used.
Right. It's first of all, it's the first half. The timeouts are pretty much worthless. They don't mean anything.
They only played 3 minutes and 80.
Right.
40-something seconds already.
Right.
That's all.
Right. And, right. The thing is, when in doubt, your first half, your timeouts mean pretty much nothing. Get out there, call your timeout, settle everybody down. Let's look at this thing.
Yep.
And then you could then you could have your people in the booth look at it, use your timeout, and then throw your challenge flag and say, hey, I want to challenge the catch.
Right.
Challenge the catch. It's overturned. 4th down. You get the ball up at the 35.
Yep.
They don't score that touchdown.
Right.
I know it might not have impacted. Well, all it does is it sets the tone of the game. How you play out from there, who knows? But the bottom line, it's early in the game. You got down 7 real quick with the young quarterback who ultimately gets hurt. It downslides from there. However, that particular instance, I don't understand. That's what I kept saying. Why didn't they just call the timeout?
All they had to do.
All you had to do is just burn your big deal. It's a first half, burn your timeout. Then you can go ahead, cooler heads, look at it. Okay, yeah, people look at it, then throw the challenge flag as your timeout's going it down, then throw out the flag and say, I want to challenge that.
Yeah.
Then they have to take the time and challenge it. And you would have got the ball up at the 35 because they would have on replay, they would have reviewed that and said, yeah, that's incomplete.
Right. I mean, that's all you had to do. And it showed another game during the playoffs. I forgot who it was, where an offensive team went nuts the same way of a pass that was caught. And I think it was a Buffalo or something. Even though they lost, they went crazy about the play. They caught the ball. They said it was incomplete, but they started going, get them to go after it. They went after it right away and got it changed.
They got it changed.
And they got changed. And it just shows that all you got to do is, especially that early. That's why I can understand late. It's
different.
It's a little bit, I got to save that. I might need that. But the game just started. You had San Francisco had the ball once. Matter of fact, I think it was Philly got the ball first. Initial, that was their initial
That was their
drive.
initial drive.
So, I mean, it doesn't make, the rest of the game is going to be the rest of the game. But that is at the beginning. Come on. One time out, I don't care.
That's what I mean.
I'll call if it's wrong. Oh, well. If they can't find the angle, oh, well. 2 timeouts. A lot of times you take timeouts into the halftime, don't even use them. So I can understand the second half near the end, like I said, but not then.
But not then. Not in the beginning.
That show was so good. Then when they started showing the officiating back in the day, it's some unbelievable stuff I've seen over the years. It's just how did you miss it? But they can. They can be out of place and they don't see it.
Well, Mike Florio was on Mad Dog Rousseau, and he's very good. And he said that if you made these referees full-time, they could practice, work together during the week. He said people complain about the inconsistency of the call. The holdings, the pass interferences are probably the two that stand out. The roughing the quarterback is a whole different animal. But he talked, and he brought up excellent points. He said, by these referees working together every day, 8 hours a day during the week, where they would be looking at replay after replay after replay and getting the handle on, okay, what is holding, what is not, what is pass interference. And they would become, and as a group, they would be consistently working together. They would become more consistent as a team when they make these calls. He says the problem that you have, and this is so true, you have an official. He's a lawyer. He's an accountant. Whatever. He works during the week. He gets on a plane, on a Friday or a Saturday to fly in for a Sunday game. All right. How about if the guy has got kids at home, responsibilities, kids sick, he's got a lot of other stuff going on. Maybe he doesn't have time to sit down during the week and review tape and review calls. He shows up, and before he knows it, it's game time. He hasn't really done his homework, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Okay. He gets on the field. He's with other referees that he hasn't worked with. And all of a sudden, you have basically this cluster of he either misses a call or he's calling the wrong thing or they're not on the same page a lot of times. So there's constant chaos among the officials when they're trying to, referee a game.
Yeah.
So in essence, you get inconsistent or bad calls, and then ultimately it has an impact on the outcome of a game.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if on that show if Kurt Warner was referenced the Mike Florio thing, but he brought up something that was he said, yeah, you can make them full time. He said what he would like to see is the referees on the field. He said you can have them work together all you want full time. They can still make those inconsistent calls because a lot of them are judgment calls. It's calls of what they think they've seen. You could practice. It's like boxing. You can do this, but it's what you think you've seen, and that's not what happen.
Right.
So he said the replay officials now, he do agree that they should, because if they're up there, they are actually the ones that make the call whether it's good or
Right.
not, and send it down to the ref on the field to say that's incomplete, that's interference, whatever. They make that call. He said they the ones that should have that full-time job, because he said now they can look at the inconsistencies of interference, holding, and all these things and say, hey, when we got this kind of situation, this is what it needs to be. This is how we need to do this. He said because on the field, you're going to still get refs, no matter how much they practice, out of place. It's just going to happen. It's part of the game. It's just like playing the game. You're going to get out of place, even though you practice all week long of you need to be in this area, you got this area, you get out of your areas.
Right.
That's why
And
mistakes
the plays
happen.
and the quickness. And I think the thing is, the more they work together, though, I go back to the adage: the more time they can work at their craft, they're not doing their lawyer thing or accountant thing or whatever they're doing, but they're actually looking at the craft, working and studying it. And the more time they put into it, I just think they're going to overall they'll be better at it. But to your point, they're not going to be perfect. No one will be. And they will be out of position at times.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
But the more time they put into it, I believe they'll be more consistent and better, at least getting it right the first time. Not always, but they'll just be better than they are now.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. With all the gambling money now involved in football, since they've opened up the door to FanDuel and letting all the gamblers in and letting people gamble, all the money now on these games, I think it's really imperative that they really get this stuff right. In fact, of getting it right because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But the point to you're saying is just, I think as a rule, the NFL needs to get better at it. And you know what? I don't want to hear they don't want to pay the referees and make them full times. They get billions and billions of dollars on these games. You can't afford full-time referees. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, another thing they brought up too is, like, they have talked about that, full-time referees, but how would they implement it? Some people ask, would it be 8 hours a day work? And it's a lot of people don't want to do that for that type of thing, not for no 8 hours. But you don't have to do 8. You might could do 4. Like that was Edwards is his last name, the fullback I'm thinking of.
Right.
That I was trying to think
of.
Oh,
Edwards,
play. You know what I'm talking about? He said they don't have to be full 8 hours. He said, you tell me the guys that can't get down and look at film just like we do as players for like 4 hours.
Right.
And really get in and discuss some things. And then Kurt Warner said, absolutely, they could do that.
Right.
And they don't have to make it a full time. They can still do what they do, but they put so much more extra time, even though they said they do. A lot of them do get together and do some things, but not a lot of times, because a lot of guys on crews somebody lives in California,
they're all
another
over
guy in New York, so they fly in, but they need some time where they can work together on a consistent basis, and then keep crews that are going to be together, keep them together during the season. And then they travel wherever. And during that week, we got the Green Bay, Chicago game. Okay. Now that week, we're going to study a lot of the things what Green Bay does, with Chicago, watch what they do. Hey, this is not holding. This is not interference. Whatever. and it will help a lot of the things on the field. But I really agree more with the replay because that's been the big issue. Guys have always missed calls on the field.
Well,
but but big things have happened when you cannot change the play. They need to change the replay rule overall. Some things that you should be able to call a lot of different things, not just one challenge. No, you need to be getting the things right because they're not going to get it. They're human.
The problem, I mean, I get it, the replay, but you're right. They need to, because you can't challenge pass interference. You can't challenge defensive or offensive holding. And now the offensive holding with the line, I think they do a good enough job with actually.
I mean, best you can. It's almost holding every play,
right,
but you can't call every.
You can't. And they've even said now, Mike Florio even brought this up, that now if you watch plays, you notice the linemen are moving a hair. The offensive linemen move a little bit early.
Yeah.
A lot of times they don't call it.
Right.
And the referees are feeling that they need to let the linemen do that because they would be, the defensive, line would just be crushing the quarterback. So you got to give the linemen a little bit of advantage. Okay, I get it. That's fine. I think where the rub comes in a lot of times is they can't replay face mask and I think that's a safety issue where they miss face masks.
Yeah, that I think should be able
and
to
that
replay.
they need to replay because that's a safety issue. Because that's, to me, that's just as egregious as a helmet-to-helmet hit. In fact, some of those face masks that they miss, because you could see the helmet and the head just go yank back and there's no flag. And we've seen that time and time where they don't even know flag. The guys, you watch the replay, not only did they grab the helmet, but you could see the guy's head crank back.
I remember Kareem Hunt.
Right.
I don't know if it was the Bengals or Steelers they was playing. His head went back, turned. Somebody grabbed and went back. Or they didn't call anything.
They didn't call anything.
I mean, that right there was so. I mean, you could just see it. Okay, they could have missed it. I mean, you got big guys. They could have missed it. That should be able to be changed.
But you should be able.
Safety.
Right. That's a
he's
safety
a big, strong
issue.
guy, but he could have hurt himself bad.
Right.
He could have been hurt bad.
They need to change face mask on the safety side.
Yeah.
Where they can go back and they should be able to. A coach should at least say, "Hey, throw a green flag for a penalty, but a face mask, and that's a safety issue. They need to go back and look at those." I think the ones that drive people crazy is the defensive holding calls and the interference calls, because that's where I think, as a rule of thumb, there seems to be really the inconsistency when they decide to throw that flag. You make the point, or you've said before, you could almost call that on every play, but how much do you allow the defender to do hand checking? And, as soon as they grab the jersey, that's usually the flag, but we've seen that get away with that. So I think, as a rule, I would like to see more consistency with the pass interference, defensive holding calls. Offensive holding, I think, to your point, they could call it every play. They seem to call the most egregious ones.
Yeah, I like the ones when they come outside of the frame of the body. When the guys is inside and you allowing the guy to control you as a defensive player, and they don't call because they tell them to get you right inside the inside here,
right in here,
and just control them. That is holding, but it's not like that. But if you get a guy, if you know to swim over, break that, and come across, now he's going to be grabbing. You're going to be pulling away.
Right.
That they got to call.
That's where they call. Or a lot of times when they grab them and bring them down, and you can see them kind of almost around their neck or
where they're yanking. And they do
down.
pretty good with those, like you said.
They get those right. I
don't like defensive pass, and as a defensive back, this is the part I don't like. Receivers are taught well on how, and they're even better today than when I played, but how to defend off a defensive back. So how do they do that? Learning things as far as martial arts, they use their hands, forearms, and everything to get loose from a defensive back on that initial bump. And now they're hand fighting down in the field. So here it is, hand fighting, they're going after it. The ball's incomplete because the defensive back still has his hand on him. I don't think that should be called because they're already
they're
now,
both.
If he pulls down the arm.
Once they grab the arm and pull it down.
I get that.
That
little bump.
No.
because they're fighting all the way down the field.
Here's the one
I hate it.
that I think they should look at it and change it. The part that you see time and time again is wide receiver goes out, the ball is just well underthrown. He dead stops. The back who's running can't stop. So they collide, there comes the flag.
Yeah, that shouldn't either.
And the ball was 5 yards or 10 yards underthrown, and all of a sudden the flag's coming out, and it's like because you see good wide receivers do that. I see they know how to draw that flag because they know that they might run their route. They see the ball underthrown. All right, this is how I'm gonna get a pass interference call. I'm gonna stop, and this guy's gonna run into me, and as soon as that happens, there comes the flag.
Yep. That's why I said. But the game has always been, well, I can't say always, but we'll say from the 80s, mid-80s on up, somewhere after the Bears Super Bowl, the game has been geared offensively, period.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
points.
It is.
And that kind of, what you just think is one that I hate so much.
I see that, right. I see it all, and you see it a lot.
I mean, because both guys are running out.
Right.
All I can say is, they're consistent with that, too, because I've seen guys running with him.
Right.
The guy stopped. It's underthrown. So when he sees the guy trying to stop, the defensive back starts to look back, too, for the ball, get ready. But he's already there. He done ran into him.
Right.
Penalty. Well, he's stopping because he see him stopping, but he can't stop his entire
momentum.
No,
he can't stop his momentum. It's the same thing with the defensive pass rush into the quarterback.
Yes. I hate both of those calls. I hate
because you can't expect either player who's running, either the defensive back or the defensive lineman who's running at the quarterback. Well, he's supposed. And then when he's supposed to hit him, he's supposed to coddle him down. I mean,
you can't do that. And I don't understand when they say, I've seen guys on them sacks sometimes, defensive linemen. You could tell that they putting all the brunt of their force on them. But you see a guy come in, he does hit him, but he's already committed to hitting him.
Right.
He lets the ball go. He goes on the side of him, takes him down.
He almost hits, and there goes the flag.
And that's what, in tomorrow's game, that they're going to have to watch out as far as Philly with their pass rush, because if that happens to Mahomes, he's getting the call.
Oh, no, he'll get that call tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh,
Mahomes is going to get those calls go his way if there's any right.
Yep. But I, as far as a fan, I love the Eagles. I love the Raiders. But I'm a different type of fan. I don't, go against a team. I don't like them. That's just not me. I used to be like the long time, years and years ago. But now, no. If it's football, I don't care what team is playing. I'll just say who I think will win, even if it's my team. I'm going to pick them on this show. Most of the time, I'm going to say my team, even though I might think the other team is going to win. I might even say it sometime we're talking. I think that's the better team, but I'm going for mine. And that's what I see as far as this game today, tomorrow. It's going to be those are the type of things that I think is going to be an issue tomorrow because of how much they run, how they run their offense and what they do. And they want to keep Mahomes healthy, which is you do want to keep him healthy. You want to have a good competitive Super Bowl. So you don't want to get this guy injured. And I know
you don't want to go to Chad Henne.
Yeah. You know what? I don't even have nothing to say about Chad because every time he gets in, honestly, he performs.
Chad Henne's actually played pretty good as a backup.
Yes, he has.
There's our music. More to talk about the Saturday morning sports page. It's quarter number 1 in the books. Back after a quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course.
Come out to the 36 beautiful hole design course by Donald Ross, and golf lessons are available by calling the team shop at 330-740-7112. Don't forget about family fun nights on Friday and Saturday evenings, a family of 4 with cart for only $25. Or visit the Wick Recreation Area and the lighted Par 3 course. Book your tee time today at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio, take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Let's be real. The odds of a high school athlete getting a college scholarship and making it to the pros are pretty slim. Don't get me wrong. It's okay to dream of becoming a pro athlete, even a famous one. But that's not why I play. My reason why? I love the competition.
My reason why is community.
My reason why is leadership.
My reason why is to challenge myself.
My reason why is love for the game.
And hey, if we don't make it to the pros or onto the cover of Sports Illustrated, that's okay. Because there's every reason to believe we'll excel in something even bigger than sports. We'll excel in life.
There are lots of great reasons to play high school sports. Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Saturday morning sports page. We're out of control. We can't do. Gessler's ruining our. The Gessler Studios, where we do the show, and Gessler, who owns this joint, is ruining the show. Out of control. 330-707-4202. Dave Clark. Kind of talked the officials the first quarter, getting into the Super Bowl, obviously. Let's kind of switch over a little bit. Let's get over to the NBA. A lot going on this past week in the NBA. Obviously, it outshined the Super Bowl as far as attention.
I like that,
and I like that
because
too.
it makes the game better. You know, you get saturated, but that's what you should have 2 weeks because you want your teams to be fully healthy
And healthy,
But-
right? It gives
but
them right.
regurgitated news all week. Yeah,
Yeah.
you get tired. So
Yeah,
I like it.
right. You know, the game. I've over. You know, and they're going to get more of it on Sunday for 7 to 8 hours of pregame.
Well, see, if I only just watched that, and I wouldn't anyway, but even that wouldn't be so bad when you got to hear it all
Well, that's
week.
just it. You're hearing it
And
all
because-
week. You've been hearing it for 2 weeks, but this week they've stepped it up.
But I thank God I haven't really watched
No, I
college
haven't
sports.
done. I
Yeah,
haven't watched any. I haven't paid
I just
attention
wait
to
until
the.
tomorrow, and that's not going to be all day. It's going to be usually I start watching around 4 or something. So it's like a couple hours before the game. I'm doing
You'll watch
stuff, and
some,
it'll
yeah.
have some stuff. Now I watch a little bit of the thing.
I turn the TV
and they
on
do
it.
have interesting
They
interviews
do.
all during the week.
They
but you
do.
can't watch all that.
No,
It just gets too much.
I'll turn the TV on at 6:30.
Yeah,
right before game time. Right
Yeah.
before, that's when I turn the TV on. I can't watch it.
I mean that's my team playing. I can't do it.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know if
tough.
you
Yeah,
do it when
right.
the Giants is
No,
doing, but I can't. I can't watch all
I
that.
can't sit down. I don't even watch any of the pre games during the year. I
Me
just
either. I don't watch that either.
I turn
the game.
NFL Red Zone at 1:00. I'll put the red zone on, and then I'm watching one red zone pretty much at least 1 to 4. Then I got to get out a little bit, but then I turn it back in for the late games. But depending on the weather outside, then that's a whole different dynamic. But bottom line is, for tomorrow's game or Sunday's game, I will basically put TV on about 6:20, 6:25, and get ready for the game. I'm not going to watch a lot of pregame. I mean, I like Patrick Mahomes, but they've just too much. She's too much on the media. So much Patrick Mahomes. I'm tired. Yeah, it's enough. It's like he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Great quarterback. He's the MVP, no doubt. I know some people thought Hurts should be in the discussion. Maybe next year for Hurts if he has another good year or great year.
Well, I think he was in it all the way, but
he got
last
hurt.
Couple games.
Those shoulder injuries, that last few games missing. You could see that's going to be the big question. The big question, obviously, is Hurts 100% with the shoulder. I don't care what they tell you. You're still wondering that. And Mahomes with the high ankle sprain.
Well, I don't think neither one of them are 100%.
No, I don't think either one is going to be 100%. Yeah. The matter is just going to be to what degree. And can Philadelphia, though the line play is there, can they just – because everybody believes they have the better roster. And the line play, defense and offensive line in Philly are very good. Usually the line play wins the games, and we'll see. Let's get over, though, to the NBA, obviously. Big news in the NBA. Kyrie Irving wanting the trade, was going to sit out, threatening to sit out the rest of the season. The Nets had enough, cried uncle, picked up the phone. The owner traded him. I don't think it was the GM. Sean Marks is the GM. I think Joseph Tsai is the owner, and he traded him. He just said, that's it.
Right.
And even though Kyrie wanted to go to the Lakers, that owner said, I'm not trading him to the Lakers. Dallas gave him, he believed, a better deal, and now he's a Dallas Maverick. Yeah. And Kyrie's a Dallas Maverick. A lot of the papers in New York were just basically glad to be rid of Kyrie. But if you look at Kyrie's history, that's what Kyrie does. He usually leaves everything like Boston. They wanted him, he drove everybody crazy in Boston. And, they wanted him out of Boston. And so he ultimately ended up with the Nets. Okay, so we digest that trade and thinking, wow, okay, the Nets weren't going to wait till the deadline, the Thursday deadline. They made the decision, we're going to trade him right away. But to a lot of people's surprise, Durant, who you believed the team was going to build around, because now you got Durant. What they got for Kyrie, what I thought was a pretty good package. They got Spencer Dinwiddie, which I thought he played with them before, and I thought
he's good now. He's good.
Dinwiddie's not a bad ball player.
Oh, he's good. He's good. He's an excellent guy to have on your team for sure.
So that's going to put Kyrie in with Luka. Luka's been hurt. And then Dorian Finney-Smith and
He's not
3
bad.
picks. So, but the picks don't come into play until 2027.
Yeah, and they could be all over the place.
And they could be, who knows?
So, but the people they analyzed and said the Lakers could have gave him a better deal, but their guy's been hell bent on not
he wasn't
trading to the Lakers anyway. They gotta, he just don't want to. He didn't want to. It's not just because of Westbrook or anything. He just don't want to trade with the Lakers.
This is what I believe. I believe he wanted to not trade. He wasn't going to, put it to you this way. He wasn't doing Kyrie any favors. So he was not trading him to the Lakers because Kyrie wanted to go there.
Right.
That's how he was getting back at Kyrie, thinking, you drove me crazy. You came here, you just drive everybody crazy with first of all, the whole thing with the anti-Semitic stuff you drove, and then this not getting vaccinated. And he said that owner had it in his mind. I'm going to trade him to the place he doesn't want to go. I shouldn't say that. I don't know if he didn't want to go to the Mavericks, but that owner was not trading him to the Lakers because Kyrie wanted to go there. And this owner was going to make sure I'm not trading you there.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he would have anyway.
Right. I don't think so anyway either.
Anybody, because at one time the Lakers was in the conversation for Jared Allen.
Right.
He was at the Nets. And they don't want to do anything. They don't want to make them that highlight team.
They don't want
them or the Knicks. They will not trade. They don't want to trade with those.
They won't
teams.
trade to those two teams.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yep. Yeah, they just won't.
Now, I also believe he had a little bit more that he was going to make sure he wasn't trading Kyrie to where he wanted to go either, to kind of get back at Kyrie, because Kyrie drove him nuts for the 3 years that they were there.
Yeah.
So,
and if Kyrie don't sign any kind of extension, he will be either two teams, Lakers or the Phoenix Suns, next season.
Right?
Yep. Because if they don't sign him to an extension, I think he will go to.
He'll then be an unrestricted free agent next year.
And
his contract is up, and then he will be going to wherever. Now, the question with the Lakers, they're going to have to obviously Anthony Davis, when LeBron broke the record, was sitting on the sideline, not really celebrating LeBron's breaking Kareem's record, which I'm not a big record person. Get into that. But Davis' comment was people thought he disliked LeBron. He goes, and no. He goes, I sat there because we were losing to Oklahoma City Thunder. I get it was but we lost the game.
Right.
And it's like our focus should be pretty much winning a game. I get it. LeBron broke the record, but we're in a playoff hunt. We're trying to get into the playoffs. Right now, we're outside looking in. We're not even in the playoffs as we talk today. We need to get into the playoffs.
Right.
So that's what he was kind of like
trying to play.
Upset about was we're losing the game, people. Let's focus in and beat these guys. And even the coach went out and kind of defended Davis and said, yeah,
right.
I see his point.
Yeah, and I get Darvin Ham did the right thing, but there was something with that. I mean, but I do believe he wanted to win the game. But this is the problem I have with it. When he said that, I'm upset because we're losing the game, but you're out there playing at 50%. When I'm talking about not injury-wise, you're not even playing.
But you're
with
not
effort.
giving that 100%.
Yeah, he wasn't even playing with force in that game. I mean, just so
going through emotion.
Yeah, that's how he was playing. I watched that. He was just playing like going through the motion. Guys that he could score on with no problem. How is he getting 14 points for an entire game? Not even get the ball, not taking shots. And he usually would. The guy doesn't play all the time, and he's got more than any. And this is another thing that was going through the thing. When Kyrie was gone, they also said he started being very upset with the front office of the Lakers because his name kept coming up.
Yeah, for trade
with Kevin Durant. So he knew that Kevin Durant wanted out after Kyrie was leaving. And now his name was coming up of AD for KD. And he was upset about that, they said. So, you're soaking about that. What's going? But he wasn't. He had too many things going on in his mind to really focus on playing basketball. And you've seen that because after the trade deadline, even though they lost, his next game, 29 points, 18 boards, 4 blocks, 5. I think he had 5 assists
against Milwaukee.
Yeah.
They lost. LeBron didn't play because of an ankle, but yeah.
But look at that's the type of game he had the next one. He's safe. He's not being traded. Everything is good. I think he really was happy for LeBron. I do think so.
I do too.
But I think sometimes he had too much stuff going on, and he's thinking he's getting traded. I would just you got to be a professional. Just play. That's part of trades are a part.
That's part of the game.
So just play the game, and wherever you go, and that's how he took it. So, hey, but I do. To be honest with you, the Lakers might not got certain people, but they did a good job in what they got.
They got D'Angelo Russell.
That's good right there.
Who's obviously on an expiring contract, paying him $31 million. It's up at the end of the year. It was kind of D'Angelo Russell, Westbrook. They worked that trade with Westbrook and D'Angelo Russell, third team, and draft picks and all that stuff going on.
Yep.
So the question's going to be, though, the big trade is the Durant to Phoenix. the Nets surprised not everybody, but they surprised a lot of people. I was surprised too because I thought they would keep Durant and play the trade they got in for Kyrie. Those players, Dinwiddie.
I think they wanted to.
That's what I think they wanted.
But I think when Kevin Durant seen they got rid of Kyrie, he wanted out. I don't know if they talked behind the scenes. I think
here's what happened.
Said, I'm out too.
After the trade to Kyrie, Durant goes, I want to meet with the front office. Mm-hmm. Well, right after the meeting, it seemed like after he met with the front office, he was traded.
Yeah.
So I think what the heck happened is Durant goes, I want to have a meeting with the front office, and I'm speculating here. And he sat down with Marks and the owner. And I just think after that meeting, I think Marks and the owner and the coach said, let's trade him. I mean, he either wants to run the team or he's going to be a problem here.
I think that happened.
And we need to maybe reset this and we need to move forward. And we're going to trade Durant. And sure enough, it was because it happened at 1 a.m. Yeah. Phoenix.
I know that went on. I mean, I don't know. I can't say exactly what you said,
but that's
to a certain degree.
But I think that's what happened.
Yeah. Whether it was in the office, on a phone,
whatever.
He probably said, Kyrie wanted out and you let him out. Well, you need to do something for me then.
And they figured, you know what?
Okay,
maybe Durant said, I don't want to play with the two guys you have, or I want out then too, or something happened.
Yeah.
Because after the meeting, it was that morning at 1 o'clock in the morning. I got up the next, I get up that following morning and I put on the talk show I listened to, the LeVar Arrington and Brady Quinn and Jonas Knox show. What is it? 2 Pros and a Cup of Joe. I listened to that, and sure enough, they go, we got a big news in the NBA. Durant's traded to Phoenix. I was like, going, you got to be kidding me. And and so they basically traded Durant and in essence, for draft picks, and they got Mikal Bridges and I'll look at the other player, but
they got
a good. Oh, I thought it was
Cam Johnson. Who can definitely, and they got another player too.
Mikal Bridges. Who's pretty good.
Cam Johnson can shoot
and Cam Johnson's
score.
A good player.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I think the Nets figured, okay, we're done with it. Let's roll out what we're going to get these guys. Get with Jock Vaughn, the coach.
But I listened to all that news.
And let's basically roll out these guys, get them together, and we'll make a run at the playoffs.
Well, that's another thing with AD, why he was upset, because he already knew the Nets very interested in him.
Right.
Okay, they still was interested, but that guy refuses to deal with the Lakers.
See,
that's why he wasn't going to send KD for AD, even though he would want him. He would want AD and build around him, but because it's the Lakers, I'm not doing it.
He won't do it. He did not want to put Durant with. He was not doing the Lakers any favors at all. He was going to trade Kyrie and then obviously Durant. I heard Phoenix about 2 days before was one place they were talking Durant was potentially going if they traded him was Phoenix, but then I also heard maybe the Lakers, but we knew that
and I heard Golden State too.
Golden State again.
Yeah.
And none of that. He ended up Phoenix. Now though, basically you put Phoenix right up with Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and now Durant.
Yep.
They are now FanDuel had them the second team to win the NBA title behind Boston. They have Boston as the top team to win it, and Phoenix now is second. Mm-hmm. So they have obviously Phoenix to win. They have Phoenix winning the West and getting in the NBA Finals. So they've got Durant.
Yeah, they leapfrog Denver, but they're going to have to prove it to get past. That's one team that
Denver's
plays
a tough
so well.
team.
They play so good. And I want people to quit thinking that OKC is garbage.
No, they're a good. OKC won last night.
Yeah, and they are. The guy brought up something. He said, "Look at what they have, and now let's look at what the draft picks they got." He said they're in the same position that they were in 10 years ago, and he said, "You know when that was? KD, Harden, and Westbrook on a great young team." He said, "Now you got, Alexander. There, you got all these guys. They got good scores. Giddey. They got some." Players on that team, they're young, and they got all these draft picks. You set one superstar in there if you want, and there'll be something. They don't even have to set one in because they're building just like before. That guy's a great GM and owner out there in Oklahoma to do what he's done. When you have rid yourself of all those great players and able to come back and see that team in a couple years, they may be something. Be like Memphis, because they are coming. They're coming.
Well, here's what you have. Right now, if you look at the Kansas OK City Thunder, you've got what's his name? Shea Alexander.
Yeah.
Is it I'm not gonna I'll butcher that name, but so let's just Alexander, Kemba Walker, they've got Dort and Chet Holmgren. He doesn't play because he's hurt.
Yeah, Giddey is the guy.
Josh Giddey, they got a deal on him because he's on that rookie. He's on a rookie contract, so he's there at least for 2 years, and then the third year, I think he becomes he's got the team option, and then ultimately he becomes a restricted free agent after 3 years. So,
what is Joe? You see the guy Joe? That guy's one heck of a shooter and defensive player. He one of those 3-and-D guys. I mean, this guy don't miss. I don't know. Is he a rookie too? His last name is exactly Joe. Joe.
I'm looking at it. Yeah,
is it Isaiah Joe?
Yeah, Isaiah Joe is a rookie. They've got him.
He don't play like one.
Okay. Here's what you have. I don't know if he's a rookie. All I know is they're paying him $1.8 million this year and $1.9 million next year, all guaranteed. They have him locked in. He becomes they have the team option for him for the third year, $2.1 million. So this Isaiah Joe is, again, when you're in the NBA, the more you will have more success when the players outperform their contracts. Here's a classic example of two players, Joe, who's and Giddey, outperforming their contracts like no tomorrow.
Giddey is wow.
Giddey is unbelievable, and you're only paying him $6.2 million.
So between those two guys, $8 million.
You got $8 million, and you got two guys that are outperforming those contracts. Alexander is basically the highest guy. He's their star. He's getting the $30 million. He's got but $33 million, $35 million, but he's guaranteed up through 26, 27. So he's locked in. Kemba Walker's on an expiring deal at $27 million.
Right.
This Dort is basically at $15 million. They have him locked in, but that's when you look at the terms of NBA contracts, these are good NBA contracts that this GM has put together.
And that Dort, if you want to compare him to a guy, not a big name, but I'm going to say a guy that you like on your team. If you have liked in the past of having a guy like Jay Crowder on your team, a guy that can play defense and score and be a very good three-point shooter, that's Dort. And a slasher to the basket. That guy, he takes the top offensive player of the other team and guards him. Then he can score. He's a three-point shooter, and he's hustling. He's all over the place. And you only paying him $15 million? So we done talked about three guys right there, $23 million. Three guys, $23 million in a season.
The GM that you referred to is Oklahoma City's Sam Presti.
Yeah, one of the best.
He has been there since 2007 when he started at the age of 29 years old. He was the second youngest person to ever hold that position in the NBA. He is the third most tenured head of the basketball operation. So Sam Presti has assembled this team.
Yeah. He'll be around a lot longer as long as you keep doing what you do with the salaries and then put a team on the floor.
He's got these guys. He went out and he found great talent, and he didn't overpay for great talent. And ultimately, he's got a really young base. They won last night. They're this is what's going to make it hard for the Los Angeles Lakers to even get into the playoffs. I think they ultimately may find a way, but it's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard. I like that team better now.
I like it better. They got rid of Westbrook, who just was not a fit for that team.
Even though he's playing well, but he
He
Pitt
can't
in Pitt.
shoot.
He
just
doesn't fit.
can't shoot.
Yeah.
And he doesn't play great defense, and he just doesn't shoot. He hustles. I love his passion,
Yeah.
but he can't shoot.
I know. And it was so funny down the stretch. He started shooting better.
Right.
But it's something that you can't bank on every night.
No,
Like the one night I seen him, he had
inconsistent.
29 points. He was 5 of 6 from 3. Had steals. He did everything. Rebounding. He's doing everything, and you just can't get it on a consistent basis from him. And then he takes bad shots at times, and you'll see it in the body language of LeBron on the court. Like one time, it was towards the end of the game, he did all this stuff and threw the ball up, didn't get the foul, but he had a wide open LeBron in the corner, and in the opposite corner, you had another guy wide open to take the shot, and you didn't give the ball up. And it's just those are things with Westbrook.
Right now, here's your problem with the Lakers. They are basically sitting
It should be a 13th still, right?
13th. They're 2 games behind Portland, who's 12th. Oklahoma City is a half a game past Portland.
Mm-hmm.
They are tied right now with the Utah Jazz for the 10th spot, but Utah evidently has a tiebreaker. So the Utah Jazz have the 10th spot. Oklahoma City's got comparable, almost the same record. Both teams are 1 under 500. So that as of now, this is all going to obviously change. But the point is the Lakers, then you've got these other teams like Pelicans are in, the Timberwolves, the Utah Jazz, Oklahoma City Thunder, Portland. They're all on top of one another.
Now, where's the team that's really fallen that you just mentioned is the Pelicans.
Yeah, the Pelicans
lost 11
fell
to
off. They
15.
got blown out last night by the Cavaliers. Cavaliers look really good, by the way. Get to that. But the New Orleans Pelicans are 29 and 28. They are sitting at the 8th spot with Golden State. Golden State's at 28 and 27. The trade that they had on the board, because Gary Payton, second, his health is in question, may not go through. That's the one they had engineered. They were getting rid of Wiseman.
Yeah.
And now
Wiseman
that's
was going to where team was he going to? Was for Peyton, right?
Yeah, that was that would have 3 teams, and they were Peyton. Now it said Peyton's injury puts the 4-team trade at risk.
Yeah.
So
that probably won't go through.
Depending on what they determine on the injury, but it said significant concerns over Gary Payton. The second physical exam with Golden State has put the Thursday 4-team trade involving Warriors, Pistons, Atlanta, Portland in jeopardy.
Yeah.
The trade had the Warriors sending James Wiseman to the Pistons for Shattuck Bay and Kevin Knox. The Hawks sending 5 second-round picks to the Warriors for Bay, and then the Warriors sending Knox and those second-round picks to Portland for Peyton.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of these trades.
Yeah.
But that potentially now is in jeopardy. So wait and see if that one plays out. So you've got that situation potentially where that trade doesn't go. Really, you get back to the landscape of the West. Now you've got, as long as Durant's knee is better, that's the key here. Durant had that MCL strain. Hopefully he comes back from that. He is 34 years old. He's had his injuries. If he could stay healthy, Phoenix, you've got to figure Phoenix is favored in the West right now, because the thing is, if the Laker fans out there, right now you're out of the playoffs, but you made your trade. You got D'Angelo Russell. He could be the difference.
Yeah.
He has about 39% from 3-point land. He's a good shooter.
And that Beasley is too. So that's
Beasley's
great
good. He was part of the trade. So potentially can the Lakers, the problem is, can the Lakers get through the West? The West now, because since you put Kyrie in Dallas and Durant in Phoenix, you've made the West that much tougher.
Yep.
Because Kyrie's playing for a contract now.
Oh yeah.
So he's going to play.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's going to play.
And he's great on the court.
Oh yeah.
Saturday Morning Sports Page halftime. Back after a quick timeout.
Hi, it's Mark Means, host of By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Sandrock Concrete specializes in all types of concrete, driveways, sidewalks, basements, and garages. We also do stamped colored concrete in many different designs. We do interior and exterior stonework, regular brick and block work. Sandrock Concrete is fully insured. Call Jerry Sandrock at 330-506-0013 for an estimate. Also find them on Facebook at Sandrock Concrete LLC. Sandrock Concrete, where you deal with the owner all the time.
Located in Applewood Estates in Boardman Township, the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club offers a pleasant family environment. Choose a membership that meets your needs and enjoy a relaxing venue that includes not only swimming for the family, but also youth activities such as competitive swimming, tennis, and more. Enjoy the friendly atmosphere all summer long with the staff and members of the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club. For more information, go to applewoodswimandtennis.com or call 330-953-2833.
The Youngstown Phantoms and Cedar Rapids Rough Riders are taking it outside. Thursday, February 23rd at 6:05, it's the USHL Cleveland Classic presented by Winmark from First Energy Stadium in Cleveland. It's the first outdoor game in Phantoms history, and we need you to be there. Tickets are just $25. Call the Phantoms box office at 330-747-PUCK for tickets or more information. That's 330-747-7825 or visit youngstownphantoms.com.
Saturday Morning Sports Page, 330-707-4202. Dave Clark and I do the show, Pat Lucia, every Saturday morning from 9 to 11. And we do the show from the Gessler Propane studio. We were told that our show will not be on next week because they're renovating the studio. So I guess Gessler's going to get in here with a hammer and a couple nails and do something to the studio, and we're going to have a brand new studio.
Yep.
So good.
He'll be in here doing his thing.
He'll be doing his thing. Maybe they can figure out the heat in this joint, and then that way Gessler won't be losing at the track as much as he is.
Yeah, that might.
I have to give Gessler. He's not in this side now, but we've got to give Gessler some kind of grief. It's part of the show. It goes with the show. Anyway, all kidding aside, so that's going to be how it's going to map out next week. Anyway, we were talking a lot about the NBA, but the reality with realistically with the Lakers is now that Kyrie's sitting in the West in Dallas with Luka, and Luka's been hurt with a bad heel. When Luka gets on the court, we'll see how he and Kyrie play together. Does it make Dallas a better team with Kyrie and Luka? Mm-hmm. We'll wait and see. But then you've got now Durant sitting in Phoenix. As long as he gets healthy and gets out on the court, getting over that MCL sprain, you've got basically Phoenix pretty much favored to win the West now.
Yeah. You look at that talent level on that team. You got Booker and Durant and Paul running the show.
Got DeAndre Ayton.
Don't forget that guy right there.
Who's 7'3" or 7'2".
The floor spread it. Now you got him.
Rim protector.
Yep. And can score.
And can score a lot. Yes. And then you've got Durant now and CP3.
Yep.
Chris Paul and Devin Booker.
Yep. And I guess I don't know if they still got O'Neal or something. That's probably going to be your fifth starter. Put him in their defensive guy, rebound.
Right.
So I think they're going to be hard to beat as long as they stay healthy. That's the key. All of them have been banged up. Booker, Paul, Durant, they all been banged up during the season. So if they can stay healthy, they're going to be a tough out.
What will be interesting with the NBA, and this is what realistically will start piquing people's interest. Football is obviously, as of Sunday, NFL is over. They'll be interested in the USFL is coming up. And what was the other? XFL.
And that starts next week.
That's next week. So for all the football junkies out there, and there are a lot of people out there.
That's me.
Your Dave Clark is one of them. We'll be watching some XFL. I'll probably tune some of it in just to see the curiosity. But now I'll turn a lot of my interest to college basketball. But now, what will now make, I think, the NBA more interesting is because you've got these players like now. Before I wasn't really that interested in the NBA. I just don't get into it. I am now.
Yeah,
I'm now have that because now I want to see if Kyrie and Luka can play together and can they elevate Dallas and potentially maybe make Dallas get into the conversation of getting into that for the conference finals. Can they, make a difference? But now you're looking at Phoenix and you want to see Durant and Devin Booker out there together with CP3.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you're looking at then DeAndre Ayton. Now you're looking at Phoenix. I want to watch Phoenix because I want to see with a healthy Durant. I want to see what these guys are doing. And I want to see what Kyrie and Luka do to see what Dallas does. Then you want to see now parties. You want to see, well, what does can the Lakers with D'Angelo Russell, can they make their move to even get into the playoffs? Because right now they're out of it. But you got like these pesky teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder that have these guys that are starting to play pretty good together. Now the Pelicans' problem is I watched them last night in New Orleans. Without Zion, Zion's got to get out on the court. I know he's hurt. He was out last night. The Cavaliers, kind of just dominated them, but they need to have Zion out there to play to have any chance.
Right. Yeah, well, they play good
At times, they didn't. Last night,
they lost 11 of the last 15 games.
Right, they're on a bad streak, but Zion's really not been playing.
Yeah, well, I mean, got talent. Something
they have the talent there. If Zion could get out and play. But I think you've got more interest now with these trades.
And I want to see Denver. They didn't do a lot of stuff. They didn't have
to. They didn't
have to. That team played so great together, and I mean, what can you say? I mean, they just played. Jokic, man, come on, that guy's crazy. So you got them. Can they hold ground with all these trades? I just want to see if that can happen. I mean, Minnesota is low key, but you better not sleep on the Timberwolves. It's that Western Conference is ridiculous. And don't think Golden State. We got to remember they are the defending champion. And one thing about it, they might not see all the talent level, but you still got great players on that team. They got championship heart. Don't think they're gonna just go away.
Right now, Golden State is in the play-in tournament. They're sitting at number 7.
That's the scary thing. Get them in there. You don't know what happens in the playoffs.
A team like that with the veterans, with Curry, Thompson, they could get into the playoffs and get on a roll. We've seen it happen.
Yep, they can.
The way the West is interesting because you have teams that you really never thought were very good. I mean, Denver, is good. They lead the West. They are the best team in the West. 38-18, but the Memphis Grizzlies are 2. They're 3.5, but they're 34-21. They're second. And the team of the surprise is the Sacramento Kings, sitting at number 3.
Yeah, who would ever think?
No one would ever think that.
They're very good.
They already think Sacramento Kings are always at the bottom.
DeAndre Fox is a player.
Woo.
That team is solid too.
They got a good team.
Yep.
So you've got and then Dallas Mavericks are sitting at 4, and Phoenix is a half a game behind them at 5. And then the Clippers are basically a half a game behind Phoenix at 6.
And do you just cut them off if both George and Kawhi are playing?
Well, there you go. They put them in. See, the thing we talk about this a lot, but when you take teams in the West, actually, if you want to get technical, this is the bizarre part, but teams 3, Sacramento, and go down to 9, there's 3 games difference between Sacramento at 3 and Minnesota at 9. And if you want to say 4, Utah at 10. So Utah sitting at 10, they are 4 games behind the 3 seed Sacramento. That's how close and compact the West is.
So OKC is only what, 6 games out of the
OKC
third
right
spot?
now, as we sit, they are only 4 games out because Oklahoma City's tied with Utah. So they're out of the playoffs as of today, which we know that means nothing.
But you said 4 games from the
they're
third
only
spot.
4. Yeah. Right now, Oklahoma City is 4 games from the 3rd spot. 3 through 11, or actually, yeah. Then, but the Trailblazers are only a half a game behind Oklahoma City. So you have these teams literally on top of one another, a game or tied, and they are sit there and it's like sardines in a can.
So you're saying even the Lakers are only like 6 or 7?
Right now, the Lakers, as of, if you want to get down to it, the Lakers, as of we speak, would be 6.5 games out of
the 3rd spot.
That's
so insane. That Western Conference is insane.
Right. That Western Conference, and now you throw Kyrie to Dallas, Durant to Phoenix. Those 2 teams are basically sitting at 4 and 5 on top of one another. Technically, either one of those teams could definitely move up to the 2nd spot or at least the 3rd spot. Now, the only gap is between 2 and 3. There's 3 games. Memphis is 3 games better than Sacramento. That's about, and then they're 3.5 from Denver. But the whole point of this is when you take the 3rd team, Sacramento, and drop it all the way down to where LA is, which is LA sits at 13.
It's nothing, right?
No, there aren't that many games.
That is crazy.
When you look at the landscape of the Western Conference, and now you throw Durant at Phoenix and Kyrie in Dallas, you change that landscape because now you've put 2 players that can pretty much elevate those teams. I mean, thing with Kyrie's a fantastic player on the court. I never doubted his talent. It's off the court that he, all that. But that aside, if Kyrie is playing for the contract, which means Dallas now with Luka, if Luka and Kyrie figure this out, Dallas could have an impact in the West. And obviously with Durant now in Phoenix, even the betting line has basically had, now they've got Phoenix winning the West. If you were a betting person, Boston's favored to win the title. Phoenix is number 2 right behind Boston to win the title.
It's going to be unbelievable.
So this,
it gets exciting.
So this is the part where the NBA normally, you always kind of put the NBA off until maybe April because college.
Yeah.
But now I think a lot of people who normally don't look at the NBA that much because it's 82 games, you're going to start watching some of these games because you want to watch. Right now, I really want to watch Dallas.
You'd be intrigued to want to see.
I'm intrigued. I want to watch Phoenix. I actually want to watch Dallas and Kyrie and Luka play together. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
As much as, like I said, Kyrie's the kind of guy that drives people crazy. But on the court, if he and Luka play and Kyrie can play, he's a great player. But you throw him on that Dallas team, now you're thinking, can Dallas put something together?
And they kept Hardaway. They didn't allow him to be a part of the trade. That's a guy that you can play
score.
D and he could score like crazy. So now I heard comments from Joe Harris at the Nets. He said they're really happy. He said because the locker room is like suppressed. It's so back to the way it was. All these young guys hungry. He said we get Dinwiddie back. He said I didn't play with the guy. He said that guy.
They all love Dinwiddie.
So now he's back there with them. It's not like you just dismissed the Nets.
No,
I don't know. Because they still got a little bit of pieces that they can still play.
First of all, I think the Nets might have one of the best coaches there out in the NBA is Vaughn.
Yeah.
low key, solid coach, came up, was a good player, but became a coach, always a low key guy, coached in Orlando, but he's been through the wars, a lot of experience there. Good player. So he's got a lot on his resume, but I think he's a very underrated coach. I think if you have him with these players together, they may surprise some people.
Yeah.
They could surprise a lot of the fans. The Brooklyn Nets, I know people now are writing them off because they're writing them off as a failure. This is one of the worst failures ever because, Harden and Kyrie and Durant never worked out, how this is a miserable failure. And I kept thinking to myself, keep throwing dirt over on the Brooklyn Nets. Keep throwing dirt on them and saying, they're done. They're not any good now. They blew the team up. They don't have the talent. Just be careful that Jock Vaughn and that this team doesn't surprise some people.
Yep.
Don't rule them out. I'm not saying they're going to win. They're not going to. I don't think they can win the East, but they might. They may be better than what everybody thinks they are.
Right.
Now that they got rid of Kyrie and Durant, and they've got the players that I thought they did pretty good on those trades on who they've got. I think they've got a solid, and give Jock Vaughn the opportunity to coach these guys up.
Right. And I'm looking for some of these guys to win in trades and different things still to happen. We know trade deadline is over.
Right.
But the buyout season isn't. And this week, or especially right after the All-Star break, teams will be buying out guys' contracts. Like Russell Westbrook, I don't think he's going to stay where he's at.
No, supposedly the word is that he'll be bought out.
Yeah, he'll be bought out and gone to some contender.
That's been already.
He's going to be on
I believe.
They're talking about the Heat. I've been hearing that he may be down.
Right, he
with
might
the Heat.
end up with the Heat.
Yep.
Now that wouldn't surprise me at all. That he ends up Riley. I could see Riley going after him because he gets him for nothing.
Right.
Getting him in with Jimmy Butler and that team, and if there's anybody that can figure out a way to utilize Russell Westbrook's talent, it would be Riley and the Heat.
Yep.
And get him integrated into their play and see how that, I could see that happening. That makes a lot of sense. Yep. So does Westbrook end up in a Heat uniform? Yeah, I think he's going to get released. And John Wall's also probably getting released too.
Yep.
So here's two guys, veteran guys. At the end of the day, I have a feeling that they might end up on a team that might surprise you.
Right. Yep. That's what I believe that too.
And I won't be surprised again, like you said, does Westbrook end up on another team? I believe because the word was that when they made the trade that the trade was Westbrook would be released,
right,
is what everybody was saying. It hasn't been official yet, but that was obviously the rumor out there.
And you wonder what happened because will John Wall end up with the Lakers too? Because you got Pat Bev is gone.
Bev's gone. They traded Beverly and Westbrook.
And he's going to end up with someone. He's not going to.
No.
I think they said they're already talking about he'd probably go back to Minnesota where he played great for them during the playoff stretch.
Yeah, because he's probably going to get released too.
Oh, yeah. He's going to get
So
buyout.
Westbrook and release will probably get bought out, and so will John Wall. So those three guys will be out there floating around, and they'll come. They come cheap because they were bought out, and whatever they get, like the NBA minimum or whatever, the veteran, whatever they get on a prorated deal. So those three guys can end up somewhere on making an impact on a team.
Yep. Especially in the playoff. That's why it's interesting for the NBA. It's interesting. You don't know what's going to go on.
No.
We got the trade deadline done.
The trade deadline done.
Now the buyout season.
What the trade deadline did, though, with all the activity, is it really, I think, re-sparked an interest in the NBA that really kind of wasn't there.
Yeah, for sure.
But now I think you're going to attract the fans to want to tune in
you want to
because this is kind of like a must-watch TV.
It's like theater.
It is.
Yeah,
because I part of me, I think I want Durant in Phoenix to me and Kyrie and Dallas with Luka are like two of the top teams. Now I want to look and start following to see how they do.
Right.
And if they're on, I'm definitely gonna watch. I want to see how Durant does in Phoenix, especially like if you have Phoenix playing Golden State, and Durant playing for Phoenix. That's great theater because Durant was with Golden State. Now he's playing against them, so that's going to be a great game to watch. Then Dallas with Kyrie. I'm wanting to watch Kyrie and Luka play together. I ought to see how they do.
Yep.
Because I want to see if they elevate Dallas and make Dallas a better team.
This is going to be interesting. That's all I can say. It's going to be good.
And people want to see does Luka, because Luka's the main guy and the ball, and Kyrie likes to shoot the ball. Or those guys got to get along. And everyone says they seem to, because Luka's kind of a laid back type of a guy when it comes like the other players. The only problem is Kyrie and Luka don't play a lot of defense, so the other guys are going to have to step up the defense.
Yep.
But those guys could definitely score.
Oh, yeah,
so it'll be good theater to watch that team play.
Yeah, we're going to see what they got.
And it's going to be great theater to watch Durant play for Phoenix.
Yeah. That's going to be some great stuff. And we'll see what the new look. And I won't judge everything on the new look Lakers tonight. They play Golden State.
Well, that's on ABC. That's going to be the game tonight, but I think people will tune in.
Yeah, that's tuning in.
Because you're going to watch this. I don't know if D'Angelo Russell will play tonight. Hopefully he will.
It would be nice. I like
if he could play. Yeah, he went to Ohio State. Evidently, he was only in Golden State half a year.
Yeah, that's all. He was a loner.
So evidently, he didn't get. I'm stretching it. Was it an issue with he and Kerr didn't kind of get along?
Yeah, well,
or
yeah, I heard Kerr didn't want him to be gone, but he was upset about it. But Kerr, I don't know if he didn't with him, but they had too much backcourt.
So too much in the backcourt.
I mean, you had Kerr, you had him, you had Poole, you got Thompson.
Right.
You loaded. You even got Moody,
right,
a rookie who can definitely play and score. You got so many guys, and you want to keep Moody because he's on a rookie contract.
Right.
And he can score. So you had a lot of issues with all that back there.
So maybe it was a fit issue. Just too many, he had too much backcourt because he didn't last, but he didn't even stay half a year. And then he was shipped, I think, where was he? They shipped him back to Minnesota? Or
he go back to, I think he went to Minnesota. I'm trying to think.
Where did he? Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday.
I think it was Minnesota.
About, D'Angelo Russell. And he ended up.
This makes the Lakers, you get rid of Westbrook, who definitely, like you said, going to hustle, he's going to rebound, he's going to give you assists. He can steal the ball. He's not a great on-ball defender, but he can get steals playing the passing lane. But when you get a D'Angelo Russell, he can score from anywhere.
Well, he gets, because he does. He shoots 39, almost 40% from
and so
three-point.
Can Malik Beasley.
Yeah.
He can score. And see, the Lakers didn't want to give up their young talent of Reeves or Max Christie, so they're able to keep them guys around. And then you bring in Jared Vanderbilt, who's another big guy. Got rid of Bryant, but they got Mo Bamba. And Mo Bamba is a poor man. What's this guy down in Indiana? Turner?
Yeah.
They call him the poor man Turner because he's the same thing. He can shoot from deep, and he can protect the rim. The same thing that Turner can do, but for less money.
Yeah, the way
so that was smart.
D'Angelo Russell he went from the Lakers to the Nets to the Warriors, then the Timberwolves. And in 2019, he played 33 games for the Warriors. Then he was traded to the Timberwolves, and he played 12 games, and then since then he's been playing. Now, he must have been hurt in 2020 COVID. He was only 42 games. He played 65 last year, and he's playing 54 this year, games played. So,
and having one of his best seasons. That's what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah, now right now he is.
And the Lakers needed new energy. They needed new energy.
Well,
in that locker room.
The thing with the Lakers that
Westbrook was it was draining. The situation was all draining.
What I saw with the Lakers this year, what little I watched, but I thought their big problem was defense. They just weren't playing defense. They were getting beat. They could score, but they just couldn't defend anybody.
Right.
So I think they're going to obviously have to, with this current team, work.
Yeah, they did pick up guys.
They picked up guys that could play D.
Easily played Vanderbilt. Definitely a big time defense.
And D'Angelo Russell could shoot the three that they needed. So they will be interesting to see what they ultimately do in the West. They've got a lot of teams out there they have to go through. There's a lot of talent. And again, with Durant in Phoenix and Kyrie in Dallas. And I'm wondering if the Nets owner had it in his mind, I'm going to trade Durant to a West team because I'm getting him out of the East, and I'm not trading him to the Lakers. So I'm going to make the Lakers way harder because I'm giving Dallas Kyrie and I'm giving Durant to Phoenix.
It was a direct hit.
I would not be too surprised if the owner in the back of his mind for the Nets wasn't thinking that.
Right. Yeah. And I'm interested in seeing a low-key trade that happened with the Knicks is Josh Hart.
Yeah, Josh Hart
is coming back to play with Jalen Brunson. They was teammates at Villanova, and they don't know how that they was able to get that trade.
Gave up nothing. They gave up Cam Reddish, who wasn't even playing, and some draft and a couple draft choices, which they've
Reddish,
got.
He might be another buyout. He may stay there, or can they buy him out? Because he's a guy that got great talent as far as scoring, and I'm sure he wants to be somewhere else where he can be a part of a, big time situation. But with that low contract, I don't know if they'll do that. They probably want to keep him.
Oh, Cam Reddish?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's still on the rookie deal.
He should still be on his rookie deal.
He
so
won't.
That team's going. What team did he go to anyway? Josh Hart was that
Portland.
Yeah. But he's on a team that's still in that playoff running, and he can help offensively.
But the Knicks needed that because they needed a Hart.
Yeah, because he could play D.
Because he could play D and he could score.
Yep.
And that's what the Knicks need. They're an interesting team, too, when you break them down. I'm not sure they've got enough, obviously, to challenge the Boston and the Milwaukees of the world. But it could be interesting now with the Josh Hart to see if he can move the Knicks a little bit, because they're stuck in that NBA East, which is also those teams are on top of one another, too.
So, yeah, isn't that crazy? This is interesting. That's why definitely NBA, as you said, when we started this show, really took off in the perfect time, as they've been the big story.
They were right now. This last week, the NBA is kind of like driving the boat for stories.
Yeah,
they've superseded They superseded the NFL because they think you can only break that game down so much.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I just want to get it here and get it played.
Right.
Because I still think the Super Bowl is so overhyped. I wish they would only have a week off, but they're not. They're always going to go to 2 weeks because they have it all. They plan it out that way.
But in really, I used to say it. So I'd like the 1 week, but I looked at someone they was talking. It makes sense. You got the Super Bowl. You want the best teams playing with the best players,
right? And you give them that extra week
to get healthy.
Get healthy, because
and it's only fair to the fans.
Right.
See your team have an opportunity if guys can get a little healthier, because nobody is healthy. But if you got that extra week of treatment and rest, and they really know how to protect their players from doing stuff, then you could get that better game. That's what you really want to see, and hopefully that's what we see. We have been seeing some decent Super Bowls of late. We done seen some duds.
The Super Bowls have been, at least, recently they've been, for the most part, they've been pretty good. Now they have, when you look at the history of the Super Bowls, you've had some bad blowouts, bad games, and then you've had ones that have lived up to the hype, sort of to speak, and they've been actually, pretty good last year. The Rams and the Bengals, Rams winning. That was a good game. Went kind of down to the last series. That was on the edge of the seats. The year before, Tampa Bay kind of dominated Kansas City because they had that line issue. And then Andy Reid had that issue. The son had that accident.
Yeah.
And that created a whole different problem for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
And they were kind of not in sync on the Super Bowl, and Tampa Bay took advantage of that. I think the Kansas City Chief 49er was a really good Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo missed the one pass that wins the game, but people forget that the San Francisco 49er defense, kind of like Kansas City in the game too. Don't blame it all on Jimmy G.
Yeah, not on
49ers had that game, and the defense kind of fell apart, letting Kansas City win the game.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about, we're coming up on our quick break. I do want to talk about the quarterback situation in the NFL. And Joe Montana had some interesting comments this past week, and we'll share those after this real quick timeout on Saturday Morning Sports page, Western Reserve Radio.
Dr. Ashdown and Dr. Carnivus have been making happy feet in the Mahoning Valley for 35 years. Our offices are located in Cortland, Champion, Austintown, Columbiana, and Howland. Our Howland office has relocated to 8601 East Market Street to the top of the hill. Advanced Podiatry offers sports medicine and treatment plans for all ages. You can also request an appointment online by visiting our website at advancedpodiatry.com. Advanced Podiatry, where surgery is always a last resort.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel,